Hello neighbors, it's Brad here from Etrailer, and today I'm with Jeff from Roadmaster, and today we're taking a look at what you can do to your coach to enhance the suspension. So a lot of coaches out there, real top heavy feeling, and people think, well, it is what it is, it's a big bus, how do I improve this? But that's not necessarily the case. Roadmaster has a few different options to help make a better ride overall.
Definitely, it definitely does. So typically we educate our customer to let them know that yes, you can improve your ride, or you can get that GT version suspension with your motorhome. And how we do is we basically have to find out what's the root of the problem. Okay. So typically when a customer comes up to us, the very first thing they say is, hey, I'm constantly doing this while I'm going down the road. That just means so many different things. So we actually ask a few more questions. Hey, do you tow a vehicle behind your motorhome? Does it get worse when you put that motorhome behind, or that vehicle behind the motorhome? And when it does, is this getting worse as well? And when the answer is yes, yes, and yes, then we kind of know that the issue is tail wag at that point. And that's usually fixed by a product called a track bar. And what it does, it just locks the rear axle in place so it's not moving side to side, it's only moving straight up and down like it should. Okay. Next question is, or the next thing that I typically ask my customers is whenever you go in and out of turns, does it feel like the coach wants to roll over to its side? Most of the time the answer is yes. And typically the reason why is because when that coach, or when the chassis was manufactured, they really had no earthly idea what the final output was going to be, how tall it was, how much weight was going to be on it. So you actually took center of gravity from probably 1.5 feet, 2 foot off the ground, and now all of a sudden you're 6 feet off the ground or 8 feet off the ground. We're putting air conditioners, solar panels, satellite dishes, everything else on top of these things, and we just need to drastically improve that. So how we do that in this case is we upgrade the sway bars. In some cases we're doing a remove and replace. In other cases we're actually piggybacking and adding a second sway bar to the rear or to the front of the coach.
So sway bars are something predominantly you see on passenger vehicles, and when I started working here, putting a sway bar on an RV, I go, well, I mean, it's the same concept, why not? But seeing the difference, I've done sway bars on my own personal vehicle, and the first turn you take, you go, oh, that's a lot better.
Definitely.
It's no different on an RV. In fact, it might even be
much more noticeable.
Yeah, absolutely, because before driving, it does feel like it's going to topple over, and you don't necessarily get sports car handling, but it's more response on the steering, it's more direct, and you just feel a little bit more planted, more, honestly, confidence when driving.
Yeah, and a lot of our customers are reporting back up, 60%, they're saying up to a 60% increase in how they feel that their coach is handling. And that's what we really like to hear, and that's where we're trying to aim for. We want to give that customer their vacation the minute they start out of the driveway, and not once they get to their destination.
Yeah, and so as far as sway bars, there's rear sway bars, as well as front sway bars, correct?
Correct.
So why would someone choose one or the other, or should they go with both?
Typically we suggest both. In some cases, yes, you can start off with the rear, but like I said, again, we like to suggest both because we're actually tuning the bars for the weight of that vehicle that's going to carry. So to have an upgraded bar in the rear, not one on the front, kind of does it a little bit of injustice.
That's fair. Now, something else too, as a long drive that's going to wear you out, is fighting the steering wheel back and forth. And you guys have a way to fix that, correct?
Absolutely, we sure do. So once we turn and look at all the issues that the customer has, we determine what the issues are. We start talking to the customer and we resolve them by doing track bars, sway bars. The last and final thing that we usually recommend is a steering control. So basically what the steering control does essentially is put pressure on center force pressure on the tie rod, so that way we're trying to hold that vehicle in a straight line. So if the customer has road ruts, if they turn around and hit potholes on the road, high winds, it's an assistance for that customer to keep in a straight line on their coach.
Yeah, and that's, again, one of the installs, many installs that I've done is the steering stabilizer. And again, that's one of those, does it really make that big of a difference? Well, just going through our parking lot and cutting it, you let go of the steering wheel and it kind of still just tracks that way, whereas the steering stabilizer, you can see the steering wheel go back to center. And then when you're just going down a straight line, it just feels like it's in a nice natural groove.
Yeah, it sure does.
So it's definitely a lot more comfortable, especially, putting a lot of hours on the road or doing any curvy roads out there. It's just going to help balance it and kind of counter steer a little bit for you, bringing it back to center. That way you're not having to fight that wheel back and forth. Now, with both of our front sway bar, rear sway bar, as well as the steering stabilizer, that's going to get you a really good ride, and I think overall better drivability. These also still work in conjunction with other suspension enhancements that you can add on as well. So you can really deck out the suspension of your RV, and I think you'll be a believer once you start doing these. You're just going to enjoy driving it more, I believe.
Exactly. It brings the vacation back and the fun back into RVing.
Yep, absolutely. Well, this was a look at some of the Roadmaster suspension components to just get your coach going down the road a little bit safer and a little bit more comfortable. Thank you, Jeff from Roadmaster, for taking the time to break that down for us.
All right, thank you.